I'll go back a little bit. Luckily, I hadn't gotten too far. So once again, special interest groups, we created these to capitalize on the diverse interests and specialized topics that our members have within the SGNA membership. And we really wanted to give people a place to network and share their knowledge with each other. We want these special interest groups to really create new education and research opportunities within these specialties. We also wanted to give our members more and new leadership opportunities to explore new opportunities and become a leader within the society. Okay. So what is expected of our members? We are, as with most things in SGNA, all of our programs and resources, you're really going to get out as much as you put in to the special interest groups. So it really starts with joining the conversation, which is back to those discussion forums, and asking questions, providing answers where you have expertise, and making those really robust online communities where you can hone in on those special interests. We also want you to be sharing resources. So that means articles, videos, events that you think would be interesting to the other members in your special interest group, making sure that those are shared and that everyone is able to contribute there. And you can share those things by contacting me or contacting your SIG chair. And again, that contact information can be found on your SIG webpage. You always want to be checking the calendar and making sure that you know what's coming down the pipeline. Things that will be on those calendars are upcoming webinars, both from SGNA and from other organizations, as well as local events and national events. So make sure you're checking those webinars and you'll be able to stay on top of that, checking that calendar. Also make sure you're joining webinars. So good first step, you're all here. And anyone who's not, of course, will be able to watch the recording. But making sure you're joining webinars, joining conference calls if you schedule them down the line, and presenting webinars. We want to be hearing from you. If you've got a topic you're passionate about, definitely let us know. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole CNE webinar. It can be something more informal just to share resources with your fellow SIG members. And we also want you to be, of course, participating in the flipped learning exercise for the annual course. I'm going to be talking more about this in the upcoming slides, so stay tuned. But this is something that even if you're not able to attend the annual course, you can still participate in as a SIG member. So a little bit of navigation. I'm hoping that you've all poked around the website a little bit and are somewhat familiar. But as again with all things SGNA website, make sure you're logging in first. So once you're logged in, you can go to the special interest groups by hovering your mouse over Member Center on that home page. And you'll see a list of the special interest groups there. And you can click on your special interest group. It'll take you to that home page. You'll see a link to your discussion forums, that calendar of events, and then by scrolling all the way down to the bottom of the page, you'll see this link that is your SIG resources. Now this is very important. This is where you will find any articles that have been shared, possibly some videos. This video will be in there, and other resources. So that's where you can go and find resources. And again, if you want to post anything there, all you need to do is simply email myself or your SIG chair, and we can get that up there for you. A little more about joining the conversation. So I know I mentioned these discussion forums. I can't stress enough how great a resource those are, and I want to make sure you're all going there frequently, but also making sure you're contacting your SIG chairs and co-chairs. They really want to hear from you. They want to hear your ideas for education. They want to hear your questions. If you have events that you think the group would be interested in, that could be something local happening in your region or your hospital, that people in the area might be interested in, or a webinar you know of. And again, share those resources. So if you found a great article, make sure you let your chair know or let me know so we can share that with the group. Okay, so a little bit more about this flipped learning exercise. So again, this is something that is open to everyone, whether you're able to attend the annual course in New Orleans or not. Each SIG chair and their co-chair are going to be working together to collect some articles that will be great points for discussion. So you'll be able to earn some CEs by reading the articles and answering some questions on those articles. The number of CNEs is to be determined now because we're still in the process of collecting those. And then for those of you who are able to attend the annual course in New Orleans, this will be a great launching point for you. So you'll arrive in New Orleans, you're already going to have read all the same materials, and you'll be able to earn an additional CE by joining a discussion on those topics. So on May 9th, which is the last day of the course in New Orleans, from 12:30 to 2, we'll be having an event. The first half hour, there will be refreshments and networking. And then the last hour, you'll settle down into your 4 groups and discuss these articles. Okay, so as I'm sure you know, we right now have 4 topics for our special interest groups. We've got associates and technicians, management, hepatology, and pulmonary. But we have more topics coming soon. So in the next month or so, you'll be seeing an email go out with a survey for our members, seeing what additional special interest groups we can add to this. We know we've got way more specialized interests and topics within GI than these 4. So definitely start thinking about that. Perhaps you would be interested in chairing one of those groups, and we definitely encourage that. So just keep that in mind. And so asking questions, it seems like most of you have figured out the question function already, as you let me know so kindly that my sound was not working. But make sure you continue to post those questions, and we'll go through all of those at the end. And if you have additional questions, you can always email me, and those can be answered after the webinar. So now, without further ado, I'm going to attempt to unmute Michelle Euler's line. And she will give her presentation. Hang on. Here we go. Okay, Michelle, I've unmuted you. Can you go ahead and start talking and make sure we can hear you?
Sure. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Let me move down. So remember, just say next when you're ready for your next slide.
Okay, sure. You can go ahead and next. So I'm actually speaking on behalf of Lisa Brown, who is our chair of our Associate and Technician SIG. And Lisa is from the Old Dominion, Virginia region, working at the University of Virginia Medical Center endoscopy. And she took the position of the SIG chair because she believes in education and creating education for peers on infection prevention, scope reprocessing, procedures, anatomy and physiology, and everything else in the GI field. Next. And this is just my information. My name is Michelle Euler. I'm a surgical technologist here in Indiana, working at a hospital and an inpatient, outpatient center. I took the position of the co-chair because I love what I do and I want to share my enthusiasm as a GI technician. I know there are others out there who also share that enthusiasm. So I wanted to be able to network and be a part of something that kind of unifies us. Next. In speaking with Lisa, we looking for goals for our special interest group for 2017. We, of course, want to increase our numbers as far as members and networking and all of that, but we kind of want to focus in on education as our goals and via webinars. We're kind of special in our special interest group because the role of the technician or associate in endoscopy varies greatly from state to state, depending on state regulations and organizational policies, and therefore the educational requirements for that position varies as well. So not all of us have the same medical background or training, and so we kind of wanted the SIG to be a place where people could come and get that basic anatomy and physiology, maybe medical terminology, that they see and hear every day, and then as well as up to more advanced things that we might be doing in the procedure room. So we hope to provide some webinars for those things, and I know Lisa already has a terrific webinar that she's working on anatomy and physiology of the GI tract, and we hope to add to that and actually have a procedural based webinar specifically for those things that we would do in the procedure, as well as implement some roundtable discussion via conference calls on some hot topics that might be going on, to just share ideas and kind of collaborate and that sort of thing. Next. On the flipped learning at the annual course, we decided to go with a hands-on theme to focus on things that we are primarily doing during procedure, such as abdominal pressure and positioning during procedures, patient positioning, and specimen retrieval. We kind of kicked around a few ideas there, and of course scope reprocessing is always a big one, but we kind of wanted to do more hands-on type theme for that. Next. And I just wanted to point out quickly what our special interest group page already consists of. I know Sophie had already talked about the calendar with our regional conferences and workshops that are available, and as well as webinars that are coming up, and other educational opportunities from different GI organizations. And we can always add whatever, if you know of something, please let us know, and we can put that on there so that others can be aware of it as well. As well as our discussion board, where we can, and those are great, I don't know if you've been on them, but they're great. You can clarify questions that you might have, ask any kind of questions, you can give advice to someone, answer somebody else's questions. Those are always great resources. Next. And there are articles and blogs as well pertaining to infection prevention, various organizations, regulations and things. You can find things for the FDA, the Joint Commission, CDC, and all of that. Next. And of course, we want to know what you want to hear about or what you want to do. We want this to be a group, obviously, a group effort, and we want to have our peers offer webinars as well, and we want to hear and see what you want to talk about.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michelle. I know one person said they were having trouble hearing, but then everyone else seemed to be able to hear. So hopefully everyone was able to get all that good stuff. Again, though, this will be posted as a recorded webinar later. So next we have Rosemary Sexton, who is the chair of the Management Special Interest Group. Rosemary, I have unmuted you. Let me unmute this one. Hang on one second. It looks like, Rosemary, you've muted yourself. So if you can...
I'm on my,
I hear you now.
I'm on my phone. Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Great. Okay, well, I can definitely hear you, so hopefully everyone else can too, and I will get to your slides. Here we go.
I have to apologize to everybody. I have 2 large dogs, so if there's suddenly a lot of barking, I'm going to mute myself for a second to quiet them down. Anyway, I'm Rose Sexton. I'm an ADN nurse. I'll have my BSN in June, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I work at an endoscopy-only center. It's a private practice, and I was offered the opportunity to be the management SIG chair. Next slide, please. I took the position mainly the last thing. I was flattered to be asked. I was kind of surprised, so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I do want to meet other managers. I had met some of them in Seattle, but it's kind of nice to meet more of them. I always want to stay abreast of new and innovative research in all aspects of the job. In Seattle, I did a poster presentation on some new and innovative stuff with fecal transplant. Maybe you guys saw that, and I did an oral presentation because I'm really into like new stuff. And even on the management level too, I like new ideas, new thoughts. I have had 4 supervisory positions in endoscopy over the years, and one of them I was unsuccessful at for the first time in my life, and I know there's room to grow with that. So I'm always open to new thoughts, new ideas, new ways to do things. Next slide, please. So we did a survey, sent it out. We have about 50 people signed up for the SIG management group. I got about 10 surveys back so far, but the areas of interest that were most identified were difficult conversations, and it's not just with patients. I think it's also with physicians, of course, and with each other. And also with scheduling, and I think that is scheduling physicians probably like having trouble with them wanting to work later because they're working at their offices and later at the hospital and all that. Everyone knows how that goes. Another big area that everyone marked was infection control and process management, and that is really going to be well covered, it sounds like, by the associate tech group. So I think probably for the managers, unless we really narrow it down and find something that's not covered by just the process that the associate tech group is covering, then that may not be something that we cover, or we might not cover it real specifically, more generally. And then managing staff-physician relationships, I said that goes kind of along with scheduling, and I think it also has to do with just on a day-to-day basis if you have someone who's difficult, and that goes along with difficult conversations. So these things kind of all mesh together, as you well know if you're a manager. Next slide, please. So we asked what you were hoping to gain from the SIG membership group, and asked also to rank, and these seem to be the things that people joined for, and that was to network and to discuss questions and hot topics, to find resources on topics that they're new to them or they need more information, to access education, to share their expertise, to receive mentorship, and to stay in the loop with upcoming events. And next slide, please. The areas that people wrote in, actually, that were like the other, were block scheduling. Some people work in an OR-based endoscopy suite, which I don't have experience with that. I worked in a hospital, but we didn't have to. I wasn't involved with OR. I was just endoscopy. So I didn't have experience with that, so hopefully other members in the group can talk on that. Optimizing colon preps, which depending on your patient population, that can be really rough. I worked at the VA, and that was a huge subject with us, was optimizing colon preps, because we needed a lot of educating with these folks. Another area that was identified was cross-training staff. It wasn't exactly delineated what was meant by that, but I think it probably means, it might mean one of two things: cross-training to go into the procedure rooms versus working in pre-post, or it might mean
I have OR people who have to come and work in endoscopy, which that's a topic that my docs and my practice are seeing at one of the local hospitals because they're trying to save money. So they got rid of the endo techs and they're making the OR techs take the call schedule. And the OR techs, of course, don't know how to use their equipment and stuff, and it's really a big burden on the OR techs to have to do that. So maybe that's what that was about, I'm not sure. And then, again, difficult conversations was actually handwritten in addition to being circled as one of the things that the management group wanted addressed. So next slide, please. The areas that were on the survey but really showed low interest were using this SIG management group to build your resume and also to use it to find volunteer opportunities. So we probably won't be discussing those things, or you can use it on your resume, but I don't think it's a big selling point for the group. Next slide, please. And one thing I thought was really interesting is we have a fair number of nurses who are less than a year in management and a fair number who are greater than 10 years. So both of these areas were highlighted as receiving mentorship and sharing expertise. So it's great because then the group can give that to each other. Next slide, please. So we have to decide about the annual course and what we want to discuss, what we want to use as our flipped education exercise. And all these things were things that were strong, except the last one, succession planning. Someone mentioned that, and I think that's a very interesting one because I don't see it spoken about much, and it's really important to think about and plan for your successor. Not that you plan on leaving soon, but you have to develop your staff. And if you're developing your staff, then your staff's being engaged, or at least a portion of it. So the annual course thoughts are engaging staff, nurse-physician collaborative relationships, survey readiness and regulatory issues, which a number of people hand wrote that in, and that is really important. Infection control, and we actually do have someone who returned a survey, and she is a certified infection control specialist and is going for her master's in it, so she will be an excellent resource for that. I already pinned her down and said, we need to have you present or, you know, be our expert resource person. And then, like I said, succession planning. So those are the topics. I don't think I have a slide beyond that, do I, Sophie? No. So that's it for management, and I do have a couple of things. One thing on the February calendar, there's a free webinar coming up. I try to find free webinars online, and then there's one in March also, so have a look at it. They're different subjects, but they're interesting to managers. And that's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Rosemary. Let me get the next person. Let's get Judy, and let's see. Okay, Judy, can you holler and see if we can hear you?
Hi there.
Hi. Great.
Okay.
Hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I certainly can.
Wonderful. Okay. And I don't see Linda. I don't see Linda Thompson on, which is fine. Okay. Well, I will go ahead and hand over the presentation to you, Judy. And again, just say next slide when you're ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sophie. And thank you to the first two presenters. Really great information on there, and something I'm definitely going to plug our techs into. And then I am an RN. I'm certified. I recently got my master's. I'm in my 40th year of nursing, so it doesn't feel quite that long. And I'm currently the interim manager at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital endoscopy. So we do about a mix of half inpatient, half outpatient, and we do GI and pulmonary. And then I'm an SGNA nurse fellow, which any of you out there, if you're interested in this fellowship program, it's really an awesome experience. I was in the inaugural group, and you know, really bonded with nurses across the country through this experience. My co-chair is Linda Thompson. She's an RN BSN at the VA Medical Center. She has 5 years of pulmonary research experience, which really supports our impetus to provide evidence-based care in nursing. The next slide, Sophie. So we wanted to know what you all want to know, so Sophie helped us send out a survey. And so the top results were to network with peers in our specialty. And I think it's interesting because not every endoscopy unit or clinic does pulmonary, but there sure are a lot of us that do. So it's really good to have an opportunity to network, to share our expertise. We're all at different levels. Some centers do navigational bronchoscopy, some do the EBUS and radial EBUS, some do more basic. So, so there's lots of expertise out there to help us. To discuss questions and hot topics, there have been a few questions posted on the SGNA chat board. I feel like those sometimes get going and then they don't go anywhere, so maybe we can talk about how to enhance that. Opportunities to find resources for questions that we have, to access educational opportunities, be mentored, which the longer that I'm a nurse, the more I realize that's a very important part of mentoring, whether it's intentional or incidental. Mentoring is key. And then to stay in the loop with upcoming events. It's like a great place to find out what's going on out there. To build your resume, that involvement is really important in professional growth in nursing. And then volunteer opportunities. So next slide, Sophie. And so some of the hot topics, the endoscopic navigational bronchoscopy, they're definitely full of acronyms. EBUS and ROSE, and I'm not going to be able to say off the top of my head, but that's a specific way of obtaining specimens from EBUS. Actually, one of our cytotechnologists is doing an in-service for us in a couple of weeks, so I'll know more about that. And then EPIC, more and more people are using EPIC, and so building preference cards for the EMB and EBUS. And actually, one of the members of our group has some expertise in that and was willing to share that. She's also a nurse fellow. Training, I think they alluded to that earlier about the training for our GI techs and their, you know, what the scope of practice is. So that's a need. Scope reprocessing, we kind of think that bronchoscope reprocessing is an up-and-coming, really hot topic, like very hot topic. Lubricant, effective versus appropriate. We were just talking about the EBUS needles and use of those a little while ago. Our Olympus rep was here. And some of our physicians really do not like the water-soluble KY jelly, that kind of thing. They really want a little bit of silicone. So, you know, again, that's a topic that there's not really a good answer for. And then room sharing for mixed specialties. We do TI and pulmonary. We used to do TEs, but we're not doing that now. Our pulmonologists always joke that they want us to change our sign to the pulmonology lab, and so anyway, but it is difficult to share those rooms and share those schedules when everyone wants to do their procedure, like right now, regardless of what anyone else is doing. So next slide. And, you know, so Linda and I have been grappling with what are the best ways to share information, offering a webinar, is that the best way? Using the chat rooms, which I think are a great resource if we choose to use them, presenting at the conference or other creative options, which I think the flip questions like offer lots of opportunities for us. And probably there are other ideas that we can learn from each other. So next slide. One of the topics that Linda and I were considering, especially with her background in pulmonary research, are, what are the best practices in bronchoscopy? What does that mean? What does that look like? Who are our subject matter experts? And then what are the issues? We know that there aren't that many offerings for bronchoscopy or pulmonology at our conference. And one of the big challenges is that the CEs for pulmonary don't satisfy the requirements for our ABCG and certification. And maybe that's one thing we want to look at is, since so many of us do offer pulmonary services, maybe we need to reconsider our requirements for that. Because I know if I'm needing to renew my certification and I really want to go to a session on bronch, but I really need the CE for certification, I will not go to the bronch offering. And then just to sort of find out how many endoscopy units do both GI and pulmonary, I think that'd be interesting to know what those numbers are. The next slide. Potential topics that we've talked about, either for a webinar or for an annual course, or even our local courses, are best practices, which we talked about, and then scope reprocessing issues with bronchoscopes. I work with a woman who has a great deal of expertise in this, and she would be willing to do a webinar because that's definitely up and coming. And then specialized procedures. We don't yet do radial EBUS here. We're hoping to, but I know some in our group do a lot of that. So we definitely have some expertise in our group to address some of those topics. And then I can't remember if I have another slide or not. So we have one article. I actually have another one to post, and transmission of infection prevention by flexible gastrointestinal endoscopy and bronchoscopy. So it's a great article. It's a little bit long, but it's out there. Okay. Next slide.
I think that's it. Yeah. Yep. Then we're on to hepatology. Well, thank you so much, Judy.
Okay.
Alrighty. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to Linda Romeo. Linda, I have just unmuted you. Can you go ahead and try to speak so we can see if we can hear you?
I can't. Can you hear me?
I can. Okay, I think we're, hopefully all of our audio problems are in our past. Great, so you can go ahead and again just say next when you're ready for the next slide.
Okay, thanks, Sophie, and hi, everybody. Oh, okay. I see the next screen.
Oh, gosh,
Oh,
thank
we're
God.
back to the other one.
Okay, all right. Is it good now?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. So we've seen a tremendous growth at the University of Virginia, and we have a very strong, robust professional nursing organization, and we're constantly reading and learning of practice, research, collaboration, and we collaborate with nurses in all other areas about the needs of our hepatology patients. We have a pretty big inpatient hepatology unit as well, and then we also collaborate with the endoscopy nurses where our patients go often. So we did, as we were putting this together, we did find that the SGNA mission is very similar to our PNSO mission as well, just more fine-tuned to gastroenterology and endoscopy nursing. Next slide. Why did I chair the Hepatology SIG? My interest peaked when I was in Seattle last year, inspired members to contribute to specialty, and this will improve patient care. And it does, I found it does foster collaboration within the SGNA. And it does improve lives of cirrhotic patients struggling with recurring ascites. This is where our group is focusing on this year. So that's why we picked this topic. Next. So our goals in 2017 is we do need to increase the awareness of the Hepatology SIG among members. And we are launching a project that we decided would be a great idea to reach out to other centers and see if they would like to join us in our project. Next. So the project we're working on is the impact of nursing education decreasing the need for large volume paracentesis. And I listed the authors of our project. Next. The reason we chose this is there were so many difficulties in getting large volume paracentesis scheduled in our endoscopy department. They use 2 days a week to schedule them and 2 procedures per day only, so it does limit the volume of procedures we can schedule in our unit. And as our patient volumes rise, we were having difficulties getting those patients in, and then as you all know, having them done lowers the risk for developing SBP, which will prevent a hospitalization. Next. So we are, what we are doing is we're collecting 12 months of data. We started this in January, on January 3rd, basically. We are getting all of our, comparing our 2015 and 2016 numbers of how many paracentesis were done. We have identified patients that have required at least 3 LVPs during that period. Then we're going to collect the patient information, and our nursing education will consist of low sodium diet, diuretic compliance, and frequency of weights. We will educate our patients, family, and staff with this, and then we want to determine a future plan for improvement, and our goal is to hopefully see that these patients need to come in for paracentesis will have decreased with nursing education. Next. We will list our diuretics. We haven't gotten to this point yet, but this is an example. We'll be teaching our patients the various diuretics that are prescribed with their actions, side effects, and doses. Next. So the flip learning exercise, I do have an article that I found that I'm going to get to Sophie to have at the roundtable, is how to improve care in outpatients with cirrhosis and ascites, a new model of care coordination by consultant hepatologist. So we are going to, well, I'd like to have that article discussed in the future as well. Next.
Actually, okay, I can actually take it from here, Linda. I think okay. That, yeah, I can. The rest of the slides will actually apply to all of the special interest groups. So this one as well. So each of the SIGs, like I said, is going to have this flip learning exercise. So Many of you, if you go now to those SIG resources on the website, you'll see some articles already posted there. However, we are looking for your recommendations. So if you know of a great article you think would spark good discussions, definitely please come forward and recommend those. Specifically something that would be a great conversation starter for that annual course session. We also need you to volunteer. In order to have this flipped learning exercise worth a CNE, we need pilot testers. So we'll need people to go and read through the articles and answer the questions that are determined and tell us how long it took you and answer some questions there. So by the end of the day tomorrow, you will all have received a link to the evaluation in your email. And in this evaluation, you'll be able to indicate whether you would like to volunteer to pilot test the flipped learning exercise. And also we hope to be getting some more information about your interests and your goals for the next year. I know a lot of the chairs talked about the survey that went out, and as they were talking about it, I realized that probably a majority of you joined the special interest group after that survey went out. So I'll definitely be sure to circulate that to all of the newer members and make sure we get information from everyone. And I want to thank you for attending, especially considering all of the technical difficulties we had at GoToWebinar. It can be a little tricky. So thanks for sticking with us, and thank you for joining us. So now we'll move on to questions. I've been seeing some come in while we've been talking. And if you have questions, like I said, you can ask them through the GoToWebinar function. If you want to just shoot me an email, we'll answer those after this webinar. So Rosemary Zimmer asked, she said that she's an RN, but she joined the Associates and Technicians Special Interest Group because she is the Infection Control Coordinator for her ASC. And she's wondering if there are other RNs in that special interest group. And I can tell you, Rosemary, that yes, definitely there are. I've seen a lot of nurse managers join that group. So I think what needs to happen is we need to look at the goals of that group and see if your goals as an infection control coordinator really do fit in that group, or perhaps that's going to need to be in a new special interest group. Like I said, we're looking to create some new ones, so maybe we need to have a new one for people like you that have different interests. So that is something we can explore. Okay. And then looks like that was the only question I got that was for the group. Again, I want to thank everyone so much for joining the webinar tonight and encourage you all to check your emails over the weekend for those evaluations, and encourage you all to share your questions, share your resources, and share your passions with us. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar now. Have a good night.
Thank you.